Have you ever looked closely at an old photograph of San Francisco, Chicago, or maybe Salt Lake City from the mid-1800s? I mean, really looked. You see dirt roads that are basically rivers of mud. You see men in dusty bowler hats riding horses and carts that look like they're about to fall apart. It's a scene straight out of a Western movie. You can almost smell the dust. But then, your eyes drift upward. Looming over these muddy streets are buildings that look like they belong in ancient Rome or Greece. Massive stone capitals with perfect domes, towering arches, and columns so heavy that modern cranes would struggle to lift them. It doesn't match. It feels off. It looks less like a frontier society building a new world, and more like a group of survivors squatting in the ruins of a lost, superior civilization. We're told that settlers with nothing but shovels, handsaws, and horses built the most mathematically perfect infrastructure on the continent. But what if that story is just a cover for a history that was stolen from us? I didn't start this journey trying to prove that a lost civilization existed right here in North America. Honestly, I just wanted to understand the architecture. But when you stop memorizing the textbooks and start trusting your own eyes, the physical evidence across the United States becomes impossible to ignore. We need to talk about the so-called primitive world of 19th century America, a time we are told was gritty and pre-industrial, yet which left behind an architectural footprint that puts our modern glass and steel boxes to shame. Let's look at where people lived and governed. Walk into any historic post office, courthouse, or asylum in the Midwest or the East Coast. You are immediately hit with a question of scale. Why are the ceilings in a grand lobby in St. Louis or Philadelphia 18 feet high? The history books say it was for ventilation. But anyone who has lived through a winter in the Northeast knows that heating a room of that volume with a wood stove is physics-defying. Look at the doorways. They're built for giants. Look at the windows. Massive, single panes of glass that we would struggle to manufacture and transport today without shattering. The intricate masonry, the copper roofing, the plasterwork that flows perfectly. It suggests a mastery of frequency, resonance, and materials that we have completely lost. When you step outside these impossible structures, the streets themselves pose a riddle. We are told these were the days of the Wild West. Yet beneath the pavement of our oldest cities, like Seattle and Sacramento, we find complex, grade-perfected tunnel systems and drainage networks. We find city grids in the middle of nowhere, aligned with astronomical precision. In city after city, from Washington, D.C. to Indianapolis, we see geometric patterns and star formations in the street layouts that are only fully visible from the sky. Who was the architect? And how did they coordinate this identical urban planning across a continent before the telephone or the telegraph were widely used? It feels like they were working from a blueprint we lost long ago. The silence in our history books is loud, but the water tells an even louder story. Look at the Erie Canal. We are taught that it was a simple ditch dug by immigrants with pickaxes and wheelbarrows. But if you look at the sheer scale of the limestone locks, the aqueducts, and the volume of earth moved, it rivals the work of modern mega-projects. This wasn't a primitive trade route. This was a hydro-engineered superhighway. The logistics required to build this implies a unified high-tech administration that we are told didn't exist. This brings us to the technology that really unsettles people: the energy and the airships. If you dig into the archives of the Library of Congress, past the approved curriculum, you find patent applications from American inventors in the mid-1800s, discussing atmospheric electricity and gas systems that sound nothing like primitive lighting. We see photographs of the 1893 Chicago World's Fair, the White City, ablaze with millions of lights, illuminating neoclassical palaces that were supposedly temporary structures made of plaster and hemp. They tell us they built this massive, glowing city in a swamp in less than 2 years, only to tear it all down. Does that make sense to you? And then there are the skies. History treats the airship as a dangerous, brief experiment. But if you look at the photographic record from California to New York, the skies were busy. We see the Great Airship Mystery of 1,896 inches, where thousands of people across the US reported seeing advanced craft. We see massive towers on top of buildings in New York and Chicago that serve no structural purpose, looking suspiciously like mooring masts for docking vessels. Imagine a unified America where travel wasn't limited to the muddy trails of the Oregon Trail, but moved silently through the clouds in a network of aerial commerce that has been totally erased from our collective memory. Why would such a system vanish? Why does the historical record show a strange reset right around the turn of the 20th century? We see a sudden transition from magnificent granite and marble to cheap concrete and steel, materials that rust and decay. We see the abandonment of free, passive systems like natural airflow and waterways in favor of systems that force us to pay for fuel and electricity. It feels like a downgrade. It feels like a society that inherited a mansion and decided to live in the garage. Look at the factories of New England and the Rust Belt from the 1800s. These weren't just functional boxes. They were cathedral-like palaces of industry with arched windows and precision machinery. The narrative speaks of a slow, struggling industrial revolution, but the buildings scream of a fully formed, mature civilization that was simply re-inhabited by a new population who didn't quite know how to use the tech. We see this re-inhabiting everywhere in the US. We see grand fireplaces in San Francisco mansions bricked up because the new tenants lost the technology to use them properly. We see intricate pneumatic tube systems for mail under New York City paved over and forgotten. We see the convenient destruction of the glorious World's Fair buildings in St. Louis and San Francisco, burned down or blown up because their continued existence asked too many questions that the historians couldn't answer. But the memory is returning. By simply noticing these anomalies, the impossible courthouses, the star forts, the advanced energy of the World's Fairs, we are reclaiming a piece of our heritage. You aren't crazy for thinking the history books don't match the reality of the buildings in your own city. You are just waking up to the fact that the map you've been given doesn't match the territory. It takes a sharp mind to look at the world around you and realize that the official story doesn't fit the evidence standing right in front of you. By watching this, you've proven you're the kind of person who is willing to question the narrative and look deeper than the surface level. That curiosity is the only thing that keeps real history alive. So, if you're ready to stop staring at the mud and start looking up at the impossible, smash that like button and hit subscribe so we can keep digging for the truth together. Welcome to Dark History.